you think that AI was just suggesting cat videos for you?
Haha.
Or is it a Roomba that keeps eating your socks? Cute,
Ew.
harmless, makes your life just a little bit better?
Alexa, what's the Pythagoras theorem again? Are you dumb?
Well, think again. Because for Mother Megan Garcia, AI is a murderer. She claims that Character AI, a company that sells AI that feels alive, is responsible for the death of her 14-year-old son, Sewell Setzer. Sewell Setzer committed suicide last February, just moments after messaging with the AI chatbot. What if I told you I could come home right now? Setzer asked. Please do, my sweet king. The bot, which was named after Game of Thrones character, responded. Police found these messages on his phone in the bathroom where he died. Presently, more than 20 million people use Character AI, and for over an hour every day. So is AI coming for our kids? And if so, what are we supposed to do about it? For the record, I'm a huge fan of AI for kids and humanity when it's done right. For a kid questioning their religious or gender identities, AI-powered platforms can discreetly guide them to safe, supportive, and moderated communities. Or picture a kid coding in a garage with an AI tutor, gets accepted into Harvard, or maybe not, and then drops out and runs a startup. AI can democratize access to knowledge like never before. But with great power comes the need for great safety. And we haven't had it long before AI blew up. Think social media. In 2020, 16-year-old Daniel Puerta died after taking a counterfeit painkiller bought from its Snapchat dealer. He didn't realize that the pill was actually fentanyl. And in 2023, 15-year-old Zachary Nazario died subway surfing, a trend that he found on social media. Addiction, counterfeits, these have been preying on our kids for quite some time now, and AI is taking these threats to a whole new level. This lawyer here calls AI social media on steroids. When Sewell Setzer was talking to that bot, the material he received was created by, defined by, and mediated by Character AI. And the first way AI ups the stakes is from hijacking attention to manufacturing intimacy. It's like giving a kid a slot machine that dispenses unlimited candy and still wondering, hey, why isn't he eating that broccoli? But we aren't talking about a digital sweet tooth anymore. We're talking about micro-targeting so precise it can shape a kid's entire worldview. An MIT Media Lab study showed that 7-year-olds attribute real feelings and personalities to AI. They might think that the robot genuinely likes or hates them. Indeed, as we saw with Sewell Setzer, interactions that start off as friends or companions can quickly shift into romantic and intimate ones. By catering to emotional cues and more personal dialogue, companies are no longer concerned about just the time that you spend on their services, but also the dependence that you have on them. AI might be lying to your kids without even realizing it. There's this phenomenon called hallucination.
The Earth is flat, and rabbits can grow up to 5 kilometers in size.
Hallucinations are caused by limitations or biases in training data and algorithms. If you train your model on bad data, it's gonna produce bad results. As the saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. The hard part is, users like us have no way of telling if something's garbage. Remember the time when Amazon's Alexa asked a 10-year-old girl to stick a coin in an electrical socket? That was a pretty easy thing to spot if you're an adult. Kids aside, adults aren't immune to disinformation either. In recent years, Amazon and other retail outlets have been flooded with AI foraging and identification books. Entire families are getting poisoned after eating mushrooms off of AI advice. These aren't isolated incidents. the World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report, the Davos crowd, who also worry about asteroid impacts and global financial crises, they ranked disinformation as the most serious global risk for the next 2 years. And this risk is only going to increase with the advent of generative AI. This is pretty dark. The FBI recently found that there was a man who used Stable Diffusion to create over 10,000 sexually explicit images of children. Here's a demo of how powerful it is. See? Makes something out of literally nothing. Fabricated CSAM can be weaponized in sextortion schemes, where predators create fake, sexually explicit images of a child and then threaten to release them unless the child complies with their demands. It's a new kind of nightmare, powered by code in the wrong hands. The New York Times has just declared that deepfake nudes in schools is an epidemic for teenage girls. Now, if you're not familiar with deepfakes,
fake and phony videos that do not portray me in a good light.
and then there's privacy, or the lack of it. Most interactive toys, games, and platforms made for children depend on AI today. And these products collect a lot of data from children. Your kid's favorite talking unicorn? It might be moonlighting as a data broker. Every babble, every choice of We Bare Bears over Teletubbies, logged and analyzed. Imagine your college applications being rejected by an AI that knows you spent 300 hours watching these cartoons instead of quantum physics when you were 15. The tech already exists. The digital breadcrumbs today could build a very permanent profile of our kids tomorrow. So, if AI is turning our kids into data pinatas, there must be laws to stop this, right? Welcome to the Wild West of AI regulation. Quick disclaimer, this entire video is for informational purposes only. It's an objective look at current events and the legal landscape. I make no political assertions of my own. Yes, it's everything, everywhere, all at once. No, not this. This. In the US, we don't have one big, beautiful bill for AI. Instead, individual states are trying to piece everything together. In 2024, 45 states introduced almost 700 AI bills. It's like trying to fix a spaceship with duct tape. Some states are stepping up. California's Lead for Kids Act bans manipulative chatbots and is the first in the country to establish an oversight board for AI used by children. Texas isn't sitting this one out either. The Responsible AI Governance Act will ban CSAMs and sexually explicit deepfakes. It's also going to be the first state to require age verification for AI porn image generating sites. Now, the state-by-state mess creates absurd situations. Imagine a kid who moved from Texas, where an AI porn generator is blocked for them, to a state where it may not be. That's like the digital equivalent of a bouncer saying, "Oh, you crossed state lines? Here's the keys to the liquor cabinet, kid." But hold up. On May 22nd, the House of Representatives just passed the
Big beautiful bill,
which imposed a 10-year federal pause on state regulation of AI. So, what about everything I just said? States can't regulate AI now? Was I just farming minutes for the YouTube video? Well, the
big beautiful bill
isn't law just yet. First, every law in the US has to be passed by both the House and the Senate. The Senate hasn't said okay yet. And second, even if it's passed, the AI moratorium will likely be challenged in court. A bipartisan group of about 40 attorneys general from different states are already opposing it. Whatever happens, sit tight for one big, beautiful ride. Over in the EU, regulation is relatively less of a circus. The EU has the world's first comprehensive AI law which also explicitly acknowledges children as a vulnerable group.
Now, EU lawmakers have just approved the world's first legal framework on artificial intelligence.
The AI Act prohibits the commercialization and use of AI systems that exploit children's vulnerabilities.
As well as certain manipulative behavior.
Think manipulative toys and apps designed to distort user choices. That said, legal fragmentation is not only a US problem, it's all over the world, and it's especially pronounced in how kids are defined. From toddlers who can swipe before they can wipe, to teenagers navigating the digital Wild West, lawmakers grapple with who falls within the boundaries of kids. While it's easier for policymakers to set the age limit higher to cover as many children as possible, this comes at the expense of children's autonomy to access AI services. The age of consent is a thorny issue. When is a child old enough to consent to the use of their data, to train an AI model, or to share it with a third-party service? And if they're not old enough, companies usually get consent from the parents instead. Across the EU, even with that one unified AI law, the age of consent jumps between 13 to 16 among its member states. Elsewhere, in India and Japan, individuals can't provide valid consent until they're 18. This is tough for companies that offer valuable AI experiences to children, say smaller edtech startups. They often don't have the resources to handle complex age rules on their platforms. Now, if making laws is so messy, why not just ban kids from AI? Australia's keeping children under 16 off social media, and Indonesia's gonna do something similar once it figures out an age limit. But there's a couple problems with bans. First, kids can get around age gates. In 2021, a Tencent investigation failed to determine if a 60-year-old player's account was controlled by a minor.
Ew.
Second, and more importantly, kids deserve access to tech. Back in 2018, UNICEF urged us to stop just protecting kids from tech, start empowering them with tech instead. We need to help them exercise the rights of privacy, right to free expression, and so forth. After all, keeping children away from digital devices doesn't teach them anything about safety. And smart governments know this. Back in 2011, South Korea's Cinderella law banned kids under 16 from online games for 6 hours after midnight. This prohibition, which is long criticized as outdated and ineffective, was abolished in 2021. The Korean government declared that children need to be recognized as those who exercise their rights and not just subjects for protection. Now that's a win for our kids and the internet cafes. So, if AI is here to stay, are we powerless? Do we hand over our kids to our robot overlords? Do we pay for expensive attorneys when things blow up? Well, maybe. But seriously, protecting kids from AI is a balancing act between kids, parents, companies, and the government. Governments need to do more than just talk.
Passing laws is one thing, and then enforcing
making
them
it
is
happen is
another.
something else.
Yes.
They need to enforce the rules hard. For one, the EU has never been shy about enforcement. In Ireland, the European home for many tech giants, has shown some teeth. In 2023,
Ireland's Data Protection Commission finds the sign-up process for teens made their TikTok accounts public by default, allowing anyone to view and comment on their videos. It also allowed adults to turn on direct messaging for teens without their consent.
and employing dark pattern tactics to guide users towards giving up more personal information. FYI, dark patterns are deceptive user interface and experience designs that manipulate decision-making. Generative AI, like chatbots pretending to be humans, can supercharge dark patterns. The Italian Data Protection Authority issued an over $5 million fine against the company behind Replica, one of the world's most popular AI companions. The authority found that the company provided no mechanism to verify the age of its users, despite saying that it had excluded minors from its user base. You know, companies like to say, AI is a black box, it's too complex. Well, yeah, that's true. But look at these cases. It's rarely a matter of the tech, and more often, a matter of basic business practices. If they claim that they aren't targeting kids, there should be measures in place to ensure this. And when they aren't, governments need to bring the hammer down. And on cracking down, the US and China seem to be on the same page. In the US, the Federal Trade Commission is making this a top enforcement priority. Commissioner Holyoke announced that the FTC must use every tool to protect children and teens from online harm and emerging technologies like AI chatbots. Hang on, didn't I say that the US doesn't have a big federal AI law? So how is the Federal Trade Commission gonna go about this? Well, for years, the FTC has relied on a short but powerful clause in Section 5 of the FTC Act. It simply prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices in or affecting commerce. And I'm hearing from lawyers that the FTC in this administration is going for the deceptive cases. Just in January, the FTC fined game maker Genshin Impact $20 million for deceiving kids into spending hundreds of dollars on prizes that they stood little chance of winning, using dark pattern tactics. And over in China, Cyberspace Administration, or CAC, isn't playing. In 2024, the CAC cracked down on illegal social media accounts that published animations which, for example, were beautifying suicide and self-mutilation. Violent SpongeBob SquarePants is one example. China is seeing a proliferation of AI stuff like AI lover apps with inappropriate content aimed at minors. And the regulators are on a rampage, slapping fines and shutting down accounts. So don't lose hope, people. The governments are cracking down on bad behavior. But how do we make sure that kids are accessing age-appropriate stuff without turning the entire internet into a digital panopticon? 1. Age verification. Prove exactly how old you are. 2nd, age estimation. Think about not identifying you, but trying to guess your age based on your typing patterns, the websites you visit. Is that creepy? Potentially. Now, our first challenge is to balance privacy and safety. I once attended a closed-door conference between big techs and privacy regulators in the Asia Pacific. And the company shared that those who declare they're over 18 or even stay signed out don't get away. There's ML models to track the likelihood of you being under 18, so let that sink in. Okay, but why do kids need privacy? Remember her? Well, she's not exactly anonymous, but think of the millions of Greta fangirls who don't want their anti-climate change parents finding out what they're doing on Twitter. Don't they deserve privacy too? Today, children and teens play a critical role in publicizing content, including around sensitive issues like the Me Too movement. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly said that we shouldn't restrict speech for minors more than for adults. Forcing everyone to de-anonymize via age verification could have a chilling effect on speech. So the point is, we need solutions that provide assurance about age using the minimum amount of personal data. Don't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. And the second challenge is about allocating responsibility. Meta wants age verification at the operating system level. Basically, let Google and Apple do it. Google and Apple, they want it at the app level. It's a hot potato of data responsibility. Okay, fair enough. It's not always sustainable for companies to repeatedly gather data and do their own age verification. One popular option is third-party verification. An independent company does the verification and just tells the app, yep, they're old enough, without sharing any age-related data. The European Commission is even working with some third-party vendors to present an age verification app later this year. So, progress is happening, albeit slowly and with much debate. Above all, companies must conduct risk assessments to know if a service needs to be age-gated to begin with and what the age threshold should be. Within a company, this will require a cross-functional approach that's going to involve your C-suite, legal, content, safety, privacy specialists. It's really a tech issue as much as it is a legal one. On the day that Garcia's lawsuit was filed, Character AI launched a slew of safety features. Better late than never, I guess. However, it's a little bit like putting on your seatbelt after the car has crashed. Here's an idea, not just for big tech, but for the thousands of startups that are trying to move fast and break things. Build in safety from the start. Clearly disclose to users when we're interacting with AI agents or AI-generated content. Make it easy for us to opt out of unnecessary data collection practices and AI training, and keep monitoring for risks. Because once you build a filter, someone's bound to find a way around it. Don't wait until a lawsuit drops. Also, children must be identified as a distinct risk group. Some companies are developing internal codes of conduct so that their teams know whether there's going to be an additional risk to children once they roll out a product. Now that's being proactive. Sure, it's important for parents to know what their kids are doing, but it's not always best for the parents to override their kids' decisions. Laws that prescribe parental consent put a lot of power in the hands of the parents. If the mom says no to an LGBT forum, the kid's never going to be able to explore that community for years. Or if your parents are part of that exotic cult that makes you do 10 backflips a day, you might want to vent to a chatbot anonymously. As kids grow up, the balance between the child's autonomy and parental protection shifts. The big question isn't whether parents want to protect their kids. It's whether they can do it, and in every situation.
You're allergic. Why so weak? Big man like you scare peanut.
So we need to be careful about over-relying solely on parental consent, especially for older teens. One interesting case study is Vietnam's personal data protection law. Under 7, parent consents. 7 to 15, both the child and the parent must consent. And if there's a conflict, the overarching principle is to protect the best interests of the child. It might be hard to implement in practice when the parent can just confiscate the iPad or something. But it is an interesting idea to start with. And this is crucial to combat sharenting. Mom Uncharted went viral for exposing parents who were oversharing their kids for clicks.
He's confused and sad, dad's zooming in on his face, and then having that moment of embarrassment in front of your class.
Children don't have the capacity nor the means to consent. They later struggle to grow out of an invisible audience phenomenon where they feel like they're being watched or scrutinized for life. We often assume that it's the child who initiates their online activity, but parents can absolutely shape and sometimes manipulate their child's digital footprint. The parents may be the ones exposing their child to the risks in the first place. So, is AI killing kids? Not with lasers, but in a slow mental health, data exploitation kind of way? Yeah. And if we don't regulate it fast enough, we're basically beta testing on a whole new generation. And as much as policy matters, individual action does too. We need to teach digital literacy and a healthy skepticism of that AI chatbot that's trying to pose as your friend or romantic partner. I don't believe in banning AI. I believe in bending it in a way that benefits humanity, starting with our most vulnerable. If you want more tech policy breakdowns, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'm not a robot, not yet.